This is Pro Coach episode number 3. I'm talking about making connections and getting new clients via social media. That's coming up.
This is the Pro Coach Podcast. Proven techniques to help you attract new and ideal coaching clients. Increase your income. Make a difference in people's lives. Create the coaching practice of your dreams.
This is Pro Coach Podcast, the marketing podcast for coaches. If you want to grow your coaching business, if you need more coaching clients, you're in the right place. Talk about 3 things on this podcast. 1, how to get more coaching clients. 2, how to get more money for your coaching services. And 3, how to have greater ease in your coaching business. We're all looking for that ease in our businesses. And what if landing clients didn't have to be that difficult? What if you knew exactly what to do to sign up 5, 10, 15 clients anytime you wanted? How would that ability change your coaching business? If you're ready to find out, visit procoach.com/more clients to get free access to our mini training course. It's called Get 10 Clients in 30 Days. It's a simple, straightforward process for landing new coaching clients anytime you want. Get 10 coaching clients in 30 days, and to access it right now, procoach.com/more clients, procoach.com/more clients. Do it now before you forget. Brian King is a coach who specializes in ADHD and dyslexia, working with clients to help them discover the calm and focus they need to succeed. And he knows his audience because he has both ADHD and dyslexia himself. In addition, he's the father of 3 sons with ADHD and Asperger's. He's got a great way to reach out to potential clients via social media. That's what I'm going to talk to him about. Brian King, welcome to Pro Coach Podcast.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, David.
What would you say that your main technique for letting people know about your business and then converting them into paying clients is?
My main technique is by knocking the socks off my current clients. I like to really spoil the people that have enlisted me to serve them. The more I over-deliver, the more they can't wait to talk about me to their peers. And one good thing about the special needs community is they tend to find each other. They want to have people that get it around them. So they naturally tell people that are in the same position they are. The next best way I do it is social media. Because again, they come together. You find groups, you find pages where these people are coming together seeking information. And all I really need to do is get in there and be part of the conversation and show them that I know what I'm talking about when I offer them advice. If they want more information on what I do, following group protocols, I take it off the group, start having some exchanges via Messenger, and say, hey, you know what, I think I could help you better if we got on the phone. So I'll get on the phone with them, and if they really seem excited about what it is I'm doing and what I can offer, I'll ask them, would you like to talk about how we can have an ongoing relationship? Because I really think I can help you and I'd like to help you more. And that's how it then turns into the enrollment conversation.
Okay, let's talk about, I'm going to call it word of mouth. You talked about knocking the socks off your current clients. Do you find that just due to the nature of ADHD or dyslexia, it's a medical condition, and a lot of times people don't discuss medical conditions. I know a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of them have dyslexia, but they never, ever talk about it. And I would think that that would be a hindrance in you getting clients through word of mouth because you're working with people that may or may not be talking to other people. Is that basically done via a social media environment where they have maybe a little more privacy? Can you talk more about encouraging people to talk about what you do and kind of what that looks like when they do?
Well, as I mentioned, a lot of the people that get referred to me, they're in active support groups, either for the parents or for the kids. So these are people that have already self-identified. They're in that group because they have that issue. Now, there have been some people that found me just through social media that hadn't really disclosed openly. Their family knew about it, but their employers didn't. But they realized they were being held back and they were suffering from what's called imposter syndrome. They were afraid of faking that they were normal, but the challenges they had at being productive in the job was really holding them back. So they would reach out to me anonymously on social media and tell me these things. And then ask, do you think that you could help me? And then once I got them on the phone, we started working together. I would start moving them towards being able to disclose very strategically in the job place so that they can start getting a little bit more understanding and support from their supervisors. My most recent client I did that with, things went better than he ever imagined because so much of the anxiety was because of his own fear that there would be negative consequences.
How is it that these guys are finding you? Are you just an active participant in these social media groups? Is it your blog? Is it a podcast? Talk more about that.
It's a combination. It's mostly just by going in the trenches. The best way that I found to attract people isn't through Facebook ads, isn't through necessarily blog posts, but actually being there. You go in the conversation. You demonstrate some empathy. You show them that you understand, that you are there to support them. And then you start dropping some knowledge bombs. Once they see this guy gets it, man, he understands, man, that advice was awesome. Then they start coming back to you and looking for more. So it's showing up and, like Steve Martin said, be so good they can't ignore you. Mm-hmm. So show up with your best stuff, because in a lot of these conversation threads and groups, it can be a little suffocating. So if what you put in there really stands out, it's a lot easier for you to get attention. And again, I don't mean sharing an article on your blog. I mean giving your best advice right then and there.
You talk about the social media groups being suffocating. Is that just because of the sheer noise and some people know better than others with the advice that they're giving?
Yeah, noise is a good way to describe it, because there tends to be a lot of competition between the people that are in there. I know more, my kids are this old, I've been to these classes, I've read this book, you should listen to me. I mean, there are some that aren't like that. There are some where they're just genuinely wanting to support the person to finding the best solution for themselves. But then you have the folks that just, they want to be heard and they'll do whatever they can to try and stand out. But you're not competing with them. You're not competing with anyone. You're just there to be helpful. And sometimes your best stuff won't fit, won't capture any attention. So keep helping, because sooner or later, somebody's going to see it and say, wow, I want to connect with this guy.
And let's call it standing out, does that just emerge once you're helpful?
It absolutely does, especially if you're not part of the noise.
Can you give me an example of the noise? We talked about a minute ago, you mentioned like the parents that have, like, I've been through this and I have this many kids, and they feel like they know everything based on their experience. Is that kind of, how would you describe the noise that you're up against?
It's that, but the way that it shows up is bickering.
Okay.
So somebody will make a comment and then somebody will respond to that comment saying, yeah, you got a point, but, and now you have this competition between these couple people, and their bickering or their conversation has nothing to do with the person they're trying to help.
Right.
And that's what the noise is. But if you just stay out of that and just say, hey, so-and-so, I've tried this before and I just wanted to suggest it in case it may be helpful. So, and this is one of my key strategies, and it's subtle, but it's very powerful, is you invite people to use what it is you're putting out there. You're not saying, do this, it'll work. Because you're still leaving decision-making in their hands, which is part of coaching, is you want to empower your client. You don't want them to just bow at the altar of your wisdom. So you want to invite them, say, hey, this might be something you want to consider. Or, hey, have you considered trying this? Whereas everybody else is saying, do this, do this, do this. You're the one who has the most inviting and softest approach. So that's another way of standing out.
Your approach is soft. You're inviting them in. You're not getting involved in the bickering. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's one of the reasons that coaches would stay off social media, because anybody who posts anything on social media could be a target for, let's just call it opinion. I don't know that these people are trying to troll you. Don't know that they're trying to be mean, but everybody's got an opinion on social media. It is easy to get sucked into what you're talking about. That's right, but the argument, and it takes it so far away from the conversation that you were trying to have initially.
Absolutely.
How did you get involved in this market to where you felt that you could go in and give this kind of advice? I liked what you said. You called it imposter syndrome. And a lot of coaches feel that, maybe I'm getting over my head by going into this group when we've got parents and other people that have had so much personal experience. And maybe the coach hasn't even had that kind of personal experience. I'm curious about that.
Well, one thing that I have going for me is I have a natural ability to communicate verbally and communicate more precisely. I found this out in grad school. I have my master's in social work, where I was able to articulate things better than even sometimes the professor. It didn't mean that I was smarter than the professor. So even in groups where there are people that know a heck of a lot more than me, maybe they're not explaining themselves as well. I'll get the gist of what it is they're trying to say, and I'll say, I think what so-and-so is trying to say is this. And now I've become an asset to both people. The person that I helped explain for and the person being helped. And I've had people come to my Facebook page and say that very thing. Man, you explain it so well. But what really got me into it was myself and my boys. My sons have Asperger's, which is a form of autism, and ADHD. I have ADHD and dyslexia. So not only do I understand these problems as an individual, I understand them as someone who's trying to parent these kids. And I also understand it as a clinician, somebody who has the master's in social work, but I can articulate my inner experience. And that's something that really sets me apart from a lot of the people out there. Again, it's not that I'm any smarter, I just tend to explain it better. And that's one thing that's made me an asset.
Do you have advice on how somebody could get better at that, being able to articulate themselves?
I'd say do a lot of journaling. In my case, it just comes naturally to me because when I did I got myself assessed for the ADHD and dyslexia, the doc said that I was in the 99.6th percentile in verbal ability. So that's genius level verbal ability. But it's just something I have. It's like these super athletes, the ones that are just very coordinated and they're fast and it's just part of their DNA. Yeah, they practiced a little. I practiced some, by talking a lot, by journaling, by having conversations about it, by refining the way I speak. But there was that essential ability underneath. But in terms of journaling, blogging is as popular as ever. Presenting is also very helpful. But when you journal, you get to experiment with language. You get to write and rewrite. You get to find what are the most concrete, most emotional words that you could use to convey something. Because not everybody's good off the top of their head like I can be. Some people really need to warm themselves up and make more of a friend of language. And I think journaling and then reading it out loud are probably ways to get more comfortable using language to communicate your ideas.
Yeah, it forces you to get clear on what it is that you're thinking. Let's talk about your process a little bit. You have social media is the way that you're interacting with people, but eventually you want them on the phone. Is that the next step in getting somebody to become a client?
There's a couple ways I do it. And I found this more and more. Facebook Live video, it's just killer in terms of drawing people in because it gives them that real-time sense of being coached by you. And for those who are not familiar with Facebook Live, it's live streaming on Facebook right on your profile.
And that's a broadcast, right? It's not a conversation?
Right. It's a conversation in that people can type comments and questions as you're talking.
Okay.
Again, it's real time. You can say hi to people as they log on. You can answer their questions. And it's almost as though they were on the phone with you. When you can sense by them putting heart signs or smiley faces or whatever that you're really connecting with them, you can follow up with them after that broadcast and say, hey, I'm glad this was helpful for you. Was there anything in particular that was most helpful? And see, this is a cool thing. When you ask them that and they respond, they've just agreed that you were helpful. They've agreed that you've helped them. So you say, hey, I'd like to help you more. Is there anything else you need help with? Now you got them involved in the helping conversation. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I think I'd be able to explain this better if we got on the phone. You give them the scheduler, your online scheduler if you tend to use one, or if they're available at the time, strike while the iron's hot, get them on the phone. see, hey, I think I can help you, but this is going to be more of a long-term process. Would you like to talk about what that would look like? And then you start getting into your program.
So it's not a sales pitch.
It's an invitation.
But the transition looks like, for you, when in this case, you had somebody on social media, you took it to the video social media, you got somebody on phone, helped them a little bit more, and then you make the offer or invitation, as you said.
Right.
I can help you more. Would you like to discuss what that would look like? And leaving them in charge of that.
Right. Because I'm really big at keeping the person empowered, because you don't want buyer's remorse. If it's a high pressure sales tactic, then people can kind of come into it thinking like you made them be there, and they have that resistance, and that's just not good for the dynamic. But if you begin by helping them in a little way, helping a little bit more, now you've created that sense of, hey, we're already in a helping relationship. Let's just make it official.
When you're moving somebody over to the paid client relationship, you talked about empowering them. Do you do things on a month-to-month basis, session by session? Do you sign somebody up for a long-term contract? How does that work?
Currently, I do it month to month. And I found a lot of success with that, because I keep helping them and helping them find new results. And as long as people are making progress, emotionally, it's really easy to keep them invested, because especially people in my niche, they felt held back, like they're bumping against walls. They're making movement and more movement and more movement and feeling better about themselves and accomplishing things that they've been telling themselves for 20 years, I can't. And that kind of progress really means a lot to them.
One of the things I've seen a lot of the coaches that I've talked to do is they try to get somebody to have, we'll call it instant success, where immediately the coach is giving the person something that they're going to see benefit by. Is that your technique, and then just kind of building on that?
I like to get them out of the gate pretty quickly. And I don't want to push them so fast that, because people can sabotage themselves, right? And if they feel if their first measure of our relationship is that they blew it again, they failed, it can be kind of hard to get back up from that. So I like to start as small as possible in terms of, are they going to do it and are they going to succeed at it? The short answer is yes, I like to get them into action, but it's not necessarily something monumental. It's just something to prove that you can take action and succeed. And then we take off bigger bites as they get more confident.
You mentioned podcasting earlier. Talk about how podcasts have helped you to market yourself.
What it does is it puts you in front of a ready-made audience that you don't have to really earn. Somebody who is into parenting or mindset, or they want success principles. One thing that you can see out there time and time again are executives that have some kind of learning disability. They have ADHD, they have dyslexia. So they're out there someplace. Maybe they're out and proud as somebody with a learning difference. Maybe that they are hiding still. But you get yourself on a podcast about business mindset, and you're talking about the different ideas you have. And you mentioned, oh, and by the way, I help executives or professionals with ADHD and dyslexia. Then there are people out there waving their hand. Hey, that's me. Man, I didn't know people like you existed. And you give all your contact information to however many listeners are out there. It can bump up your subscriber list. And it can also start you getting emails from people saying, hey, I heard you on this podcast and it's really cool. I'd really like to talk to you. And now you have a totally new stream of prospects.
Are you approaching these podcasts, or are they approaching you?
It's both. You want to be on the lookout for what other people are doing, because there are some people, and especially in my case, that are a heck of a lot better at traditional marketing than I am. And you want to be able to leverage their abilities by adding value to them and their people in the shape of your knowledge. And you can get them on the phone, let them hear you, let them hear your passion. And that's how they generally decide, oh yeah, man, I'd love to have you on. Then there's also some that hear you on other podcasts and then say, I'd like to have you on my podcast as well.
Do you have thoughts on how somebody could become a better speaker, a more confident speaker? A lot of people are nervous to give a public speech, and podcasting in some ways is very close to that.
Practice. One of the beautiful things about the technology we have these days is you can record yourself talking out loud and listen back to it. And you can also take that raw audio and share it with some of your colleagues and saying, hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. I was just playing around a little bit. I'd like you to hear this and give me some feedback, especially friends that you have that are already podcasting. Because to put it out there without any idea of what your format's going to be, what your style's going to be, you could lose people right out of the gate. And it's kind of hard to build that traction back up. So leverage the wisdom of your colleagues. And if you are uncomfortable, one thing that works best for me is being asked questions. That tends to get the best out of me. So some of us do better in dialogue than we do in monologue. So find somebody to kind of bounce things off of and have them as kind of your sidekick or your co-host as you're podcasting. My whole philosophy is you establish the problem, you give them the solution, you invite them to take an action step to experience the result, and then you sign off. Give them value, make it concrete, make it condensed, because people's attention spans are getting a lot shorter. So the quicker you can deliver, the more likely they are to keep tuning in.
Do you feel that ADHD, having that, has made you more aware of attention spans? Because that is certainly an issue that everybody faces now. Attention is our biggest commodity.
Well, not only having it myself, but then having to talk to my kids, because I think that I think their attention spans are much shorter than mine. So I've had to figure out over the years, how do I get their attention and keep it long enough to make sure I was understood? Sometimes it works more often than not, depending on, what kind of space either of us are in. Are we tired? Are we hungry? So yeah, I've really learned how to get to the point fast so that I can grab them and hold them. And that has definitely improved everything I do in terms of my blogging and my podcasting and my Facebook live videos especially.
I think having that perspective would be helpful for any coach that is looking to grab attention and also keep attention. BrianRaymondKing.com is the website. Somebody goes there, you got your blog there, you've got more information available about how to work with you, you've got your writings, you've got links to all the things that you've been involved with. Is there anything else that you want to say, anything that I didn't ask you about marketing or getting new clients in?
Well, I've definitely given, I think, the top tier stuff that I use. So the people that start with that, and feel free to reach out to me and ask me some clarifying questions about it. Because a lot of the stuff I know now, I did not know then. And we all have to start somewhere. So I'm happy to pay forward to anybody that's just starting out.
Brian, thank you so much for being here on Pro Coach Podcast.
It's been an absolute pleasure, David. Thanks for having me.
Joining me in the Pro Coach studios, it's Laurel Staples, the founder of Pro Coach and Pro Coach Academy. She's actually been here the entire time in the corner. She's got 2 pens, a red marker to critique my interviews, and also a highlighter to let me know exactly what the very best parts of it were. Brian King, cool guy. What are some of those highlights?
Something that occurred to me when I was listening to Brian talk is that many coaches, they do some type of marketing for their business. Let's say social media like Brian, or networking or blogging, whatever it is, but they don't have a plan for turning their leads that they get from their marketing into paying clients. And that's where Brian does a really great job of that, is he uses Facebook Live and he gets on there and he shares his message with people in his specific target market. And then he has a plan, a step-by-step plan to lead people into his coaching services and to buy from him. And a lot of coaches don't do that. And think about it like this. Say you're looking for a new relationship and you're at a party and you meet a cute guy or a cute girl at this party, but you don't get his or her phone number. Well, what's the likelihood that you're going to be able to follow up and have a relationship? Sure, they're now aware that you exist on this planet, but they have no way to get in touch with you or vice versa. And when you just do your marketing, for instance, you just get on social media and post some stuff out there, but you don't have a plan to funnel people back into your coaching business and becoming a paying client, it's just going to fall flat.
I think there are a lot of things that he did right here. One, there's a lot of noise in social media. You can throw your stuff out there without somebody being able to get back in touch with you. And sometimes, and this is usually how it works, without anybody ever seeing it, just like this big black hole. He's going directly to the people that need him. He's also giving them the direct path to get back to him. And that's why he's been so successful with this method.
Yeah, because the people that see your marketing, your ideal clients, ideal prospects, they need your services. And if you just make them aware of what you do and then you just drop them and leave them hanging, they don't know what direction to go. They're not just going to go to your website and just give you lots of money, because you have to invite them to take the next step. And that's what Brian is doing, is once they go and listen to him on Facebook Live, he invites them to take the next step to talk with him. And once they talk with him, he invites them to talk with him again, or whatever his process is. Brian has a really solid, robust sales funnel. And that's something that we talk about in the Pro Coach Academy, is how do you get people that you reach in your marketing to become paying clients? It's not always organic. You have to walk them through a step-by-step process to do that. The thing you want to keep in mind is that any marketing that you do makes people aware of your services, but marketing doesn't create clients. So you have to have something in the middle there that's going to make people want to sign up with you.
One of the things I see a lot with people who come through Pro Coach Academy is they're a little bit skeptical about marketing. It's a dirty word to them. They feel icky. They feel like it would be a violation of trust to offer services at first. Brian is doing a great job of showing how it should be. He's building that trust. He's giving people value. He's showing them who he is. And a Facebook video is a great way to do that. They can see him. They can feel his personality coming through the video screen. And that makes the sales process that much easier. It's not icky at all. They want to pay him money because they want more of what he has to offer, because he's already shown them that little piece of it.
How cool is that every step of his sales funnel or his marketing plan is having an authentic conversation? That's it. That's not scary. He's like, how can I talk to this person? How can I give value to this person? How can I help this person? And it whittles down marketing into just a series of conversations. And then you land the client. And that's something Brian is doing really well, and something we can all take away from this interview.
It's easy if you know how to do it. You need help getting clients? Let us show you how to do it. We make it easy at procoach.com. Right now, we've got some training that you can get absolutely free. It's called Get 10 Coaching Clients in 30 Days. The link to get it for free, procoach.com/more-clients. What would your life be like with 10 more clients? Think about that. 10 clients, that's a full book. You are now a full-time coach. You can be doing that in 30 days. We also have some more free training for you available at the Pro Coach Podcast. We've got some great information on the podcast coming up about how to build rapport and connection with clients. That's coming up. And to make sure you never miss an episode, visit procoach.com. One click is all it takes to get Pro Coach Podcast delivered via iTunes, Android, via the web, however you get your podcast. One click is all it takes. Procoach.com for that. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back on another episode of Pro Coach Podcast soon. See you then.
You've been listening to Pro Coach Podcast, the marketing podcast for coaches. Subscribe now with your iPhone, Android, or via RSS at procoach.com.